So I want to talk to you about wedges and really how many wedges you should have, what the makeup should look like. Very important for you. Everybody's a little bit different. And I would tell you that if you want to really understand what your bag should have, getting fit for this is an important part of this. Many of you don't think about getting fit for your wedges. Well, you should, and you should understand what the wedge makeup should be. Most people are going to play with 3 or 4 wedges. I play with 3 wedges. So I have a 46-degree wedge, I have this 53-degree wedge, and I have a 58-degree wedge, right? That's my wedge makeup. A lot of people are going to have 4 wedge makeup systems. So they'll go 58, 54, 50, and 46. Everybody's different. There's no perfect. You got to kind of experiment a little bit with this, okay? And frankly, it's related to the number of golf clubs that you're going to have in your bag. But really what I want to talk to you about is how do we use wedges? Because they are really, I think, the most versatile clubs in the bag, right? Your 7-iron, you're pretty much hitting for a certain distance. But when I'm hitting this 53-degree wedge, I might be hitting a shot that's going to go, 20 yards. I might be hitting a shot that's going to go 100 yards or something in between. And so we need to be able to understand how to do all this, what the positioning of the club will allow the ball to do or not do, okay? So first of all, we have to have a basic sort of foundation of how we're going to hit a wedge shot. So this is what I want to talk to you about first. So when we get into this, the most important thing for you is understanding the predictability of the strike. So when I'm teaching proper wedge positioning at sort of an introductory level, beginning level, I like to have the ball back of center. And then what I'm trying to do here is I want to grip down on that club. And then I just want to hit small little shots that are kind of pitched towards the target. And you can see that shot there as let's go back to this up front spot. So the shot that we had there is about 65 yards. The spin on that is about 7,500. That may seem like this is a little bit above you, but you'll understand in just a second. And I carried about 66 yards, and then it rolled out another 9 feet or to 69 yards. So a good shot, predictable, and I'm very happy with the outcome of that. Well, the reason why I have the ability to make some prediction is I've spent enough time holding a club a certain way, positioning the ball in a certain spot, and then just making my motion. And what I would recommend for you is be consistent in your address positions when you're hitting these shots. As I say, ball position is going to be a little back. I like to think about it as off of my trail ear. So I get set up, it's off my trail ear, I'm gripping down on that, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little motion like that. And again, this one's going to come out. And again, fairly predictable. That ball flew in the air about 61 yards. It went out to 64. The spin on that was again right around 7,600. So consistent with that. Now, from there, now is when I'm going to start to make some alterations. And one of the things that I don't want you to do when you've got a 7-iron in your hand is play with the club face open or closed. I want you to really play square. Yet with wedges, I want you to experiment with playing it open, playing it closed, and see what happens. So let me show you one of the things that will take place when I play open. Now, I'm still going to do the same exact thing with my ball positioning. I'm going to play that off of my ear. I'm still going to grip down, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the club face and I'm going to open it up a little bit. So when I open that up a little bit, and then I make the same sort of swing, what you're going to see happen is that the golf ball's not going to go the same distance and the spin rate's going to change. So let's come up to the front here. What happened with that shot, same exact swing, only this time I increased my spin by over 1,000 RPMs. And what happened was, it didn't go off the line necessarily. It's not in the air long enough to curve. But what did happen is it went a shorter distance. That one went about 10 yards shorter. It didn't necessarily launch any higher or get any higher. It just had, with the open club face, it increased spin and I took away some distance. So why is that important for you? It's important because there will be times where you're going to want to take some distance off of a shot, but you want to swing at it pretty hard. And there may also be a time where when you're doing that, you might want to try to create a little bit more spin. How do I spin it? I just open the club face and I hit it harder. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because when you open the club face, now you're creating a little bit more of a glancing blow, which means you can swing at it harder, which means that that friction on the face and the ball is going to go up, and all of a sudden, we're going to get more spin. So open the club face, ball position's in the same spot, and now a little faster. Now watch this spin. Oh, almost in the hole. That was perfect. So I swung it that harder. Now let's look at the spin rate on this. So what happened was I was able to swing harder at that one. I wanted it to go 65. The one before, right, went 56. So I need more club head speed. So I swung at it harder with that open club face. And now my spin went up to 10,000. So this ball all of a sudden carries 65.6 yards. And then it spins back a couple of yards as a result of added speed out of the club head, a little bit more of a glancing blow with that open club face. Now it grabs it, it spins it more, and now when it lands, it stops. So by opening up that club face, I'm now able to swing at it a little bit harder, and I'm able to attack. Maybe it's a 65-yard shot, but the flag's in the front of the green. I know you're thinking, well, wait a second, I'm not at that level. Yeah, you are. Give yourself a chance. Maybe you can actually do that with a little bit of practice. All right. And then what you also notice is that it didn't launch any higher, still sub 30. Now, I want to show you something else. So let's go in the opposite direction. The opposite direction, I'm going to take the club face and I'm going to turn it in. So now I'm going to play it shut. What happens when I play it shut? So I'm here, same ball position, same grip position. And now I hit that there. And what ends up happening is this thing goes and explodes off the club face. It leaves with a lot less spin. That's back down to the 7,300, right? So we didn't necessarily increase it with the opening like we did. We decreased it with the closing. But all of a sudden, because I've closed the face, this 53 degrees of loft now has, I don't know, 45. I don't know exactly what the loft is, but it's less. And what I end up getting is a shot. Come on up here, as a matter of fact. Let's look. Yeah, that's great. What you can see is now this thing launches a whole lot lower, and it goes a whole lot farther. That one went almost 20 yards farther because I took that club and I towed that club in. All right, so experimenting with that, and that has a value, right? Maybe for some reason you want to hit a little chipper. You don't want to make a big full swing. You just want to kind of chip it up there. So 65 yards, ball's back of the stance. And now I just chip one. And that one chips, and then it releases. So that one there, 65. Look at the backspin on that. 6,500 in the spin. So that's almost 1,000 underneath that. That still went 64.3 out to 66.5. The launch at there was 23.6, so even lower I brought that in at. Now, still had spin, so it can stop, but it's not going to spin backwards. All right, so messing around with that face, opening it and closing it is really, really good. Now, the other thing that happens when we do this, or as I spoke to you before, ball position, you've got your standard ball position. What happens if we alter ball position on this? So I take the ball position now and I move that ball position forward. So there's a good shot, Gibbsy. Same things, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll start with square. And I hit that. This one launches a little bit higher, and it has a little bit more backspin to it. This one got to 9,000. So by moving it forward, I hit it with a little bit more loft. Even though it's square, it's a little bit more loft. The strike, the shaft is backwards here, so I've added more loft. That one launched at 29 degrees. Now imagine what happens if I take the club face and I open that up, but then I play the ball position more forward. So I'm more forward, club face is open here. Now this one just jumps out of the stadium and it spins back as well. That one there, the spin's at 9,800. And the launch jumps up to 32.4. So it goes 60 yards and then spins back. So now, when I move that ball position up there and I open up that club face, I can swing at it even harder. Am I going to get a little bit more spin? You would think. Let's see if I can make solid contact here and see if we can get that. So there's the shot. Spins back quite a bit. And there you go. So let's look at what happened on this one. I swung even harder. I needed to swing even harder than I swung, but I still got that thing up to 10,150 RPMs. So more forward ball position, I could swing even harder. What's the value in that? Well, the value in that is that there are some of you that just, you might, maybe you're in between clubs and you don't like that swing. You want to swing as hard as you can swing. Move the ball forward, open up the club face. I don't want you to lift that ball up into the air. I want you to open up that club face, and then we're going to swing hard at it from here. I didn't quite catch that one as well as I wanted to. So it goes the distance that I want, but my spin quite wasn't where I wanted it. That's at about 9,900, but it's still a very, very useful shot. And so what you need to understand is that these golf clubs are incredibly versatile. The wedges are very versatile. And by messing around with ball position, messing around with the face angle, what you can do is you can increase spin or decrease spin. And what I tell all my students, experiment with this. Figure out what you like to do. I like gripping down. I'm not trying to make full swings with a wedge. It's just not the way I like to play. So when I'm hitting these shots that are sort of partial shots like that, I love being closer to that club head by gripping down. I love messing around with that club face. I love seeing different shots, and I experiment, and I ask you to experiment. Different ball positions, standing a little bit closer, standing farther, experiment with this and figure out what you can do with your wedge and what you like to do with your wedge. And then to that end, and back what I said at the very beginning, you got to get fit for these clubs. So you got to go and you got to see somebody that's going to tell you, okay, you know what? You need this particular bounce. You need this particular grind. You need this particular loft. So if you want to play a 60-degree wedge, then you might have 60, 56, 52, and 48 in the pitching wedge. And there are some people that might even go to 44 in the pitching wedge and have a bunch of wedges. I'm not suggesting 5 wedges, but some people do that. I would say 4 wedges as a rule, probably a pretty good idea. If you're a little bit more advanced and you're a little bit more comfortable with these golf clubs and messing around with the face and opening it and doing things like that, then I think 3 is fine. That's what I play. That's what many of the better players will play because they can hit those partial shots how they deem they want to, right? They have control over the speed of the club and they're consistent enough to be able to do that. But you got to experiment and you got to go see somebody to get that done. But wedges are really, really fun, extremely versatile, as I said, and something that I would recommend that you go and you kind of, enjoy the practice of as you start to uncover this great game and you start to really experiment with what these things can do. It becomes really, really fun. To improve all parts of your game, subscribe to my channel and click the link below.